right. So tonight or today, depending on where you are when you're listening, we're doing our tiered list. And I will say that this is something that Nate had been talking about doing since the inception of ReelChat too. This is definitely something that's been kind of, um, you know, high on his topic list to talk about. And he actually really convinced me like this could be a really cool thing to kick around. So I'm excited for it. So what we're talking about is the top shows in three different categories.
Yep.
We're doing post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic, depending on how you define it. We're doing science fiction, and we're doing conspiracy or heavy drama, right? So
Yep.
so serious stuff, not not a lot of laughs in that genre or category list.
Which are my
And
favorite ones, honestly. I really like those a lot. I'm thinking like, your you got your Sons of Anarchies out there. You got your
yeah,
Breaking Bads out there and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I'm really excited. So welcome to Real Chat, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, NAT3MILL, Chris Carter,
Ooh.
and I was gonna say we come from a film background and stuff like that. I've done some web shows and stuff like that too. I have a lot of friends that have done TV shows and stuff like that as well too. Oh, what's up, Lou? Welcome to the chat. Thanks for joining
What's going
us.
on, Lou?
And I'm excited to go jumping into this. So let's go ahead. Which topic do you want to start off with? We got apocalyptic, we got drama and conspiracy. I'm gonna say conspiracy, kind of like drama, like those ones that are out there that just not the normal ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then our science fiction shows. So we're gonna pick one of each. And if you guys like or have known these shows or like them when we jump into those, go ahead and put those in there. And if you always have three of those topics, like one of each of those topics as well too, please put them in the chat. Tell us about those as well too, because I would love to hear. This is one of the reasons I like sharing what I like watching and binge watching again, because these are shows I can just watch again. These are the ones that are like just have three things in my opinion. They have the heart from beginning to end, all the way through, even the finale. They kept my interest. I liked the way they ended. I liked the way they began. And number three, the rewatchability of these shows. Those are the ones that I picked out of those topics. So Chris,
and that's a great list too, because you talk about rewatchability and holding your attention, because I know that you liked Dexter, and not to spoil it, the ending, and I've never seen one episode of Dexter, although
you've never seen Dexter?
No, and Jessica says the same thing. Jessica is a huge fan of it, except for the last couple of seasons, especially how the finale, which I hear is like one of the worst, up there with Lost, as opposed to how people kind of received it. Game of Thrones, that's a good example. And it's hard, right? Like before we actually get into our list, it's hard to land an ending. It's especially if you've got more than a couple of seasons into it, because the expectations are so high. You've got characters for over a couple of years that you've invested time in. I mean, it's really hard to stick a finale. And
it really okay. I will say, as a writer, and you have like a huge show base and stuff like that too. I'm gonna agree with you. I think it is tough to make a finale, an end to, like, especially a show that's been on for like 5 seasons. Just not 5 seasons. Those are 5 years that they've been in the home. It's not like a movie you go see. The TV shows and stuff like that, DVDs. You're in your home. Your kids grew up with them sometimes. You did too. You went through stages of your life that you can kind of empathize and jump into like the seriousness with these characters as well too, right? So I agree. It's tough. I think it is really tough. I've never written a show, but I think it's something I want to maybe start doing here. I think that'd be a new frontier for me. Yeah, go ahead.
And it's funny because I know you've written a film. I've written a film. You've written a film. We've kind of kicked around ideas like that. We've got things out in production, but to do an actual series, the whole frame of that changes, right? You have to write it with episodic ideas in mind and cliffhangers. And are you 1 hour? Are you half an hour? Doug Ellen, the creator of Entourage, which I know you and I both really enjoy, his podcast, he goes through his process of that too. And he says it is excruciatingly painful to do a series. Like, he wouldn't go back and do it again because of how difficult it is.
I watched that interview. I think, did we watch that together?
I don't think we watched it together, but you turned me on to their podcast. And so since then, I've streamed almost all of them so far. But yeah, it's really hard to do that. So it would be one of those things where it's difficult to go ahead and figure out the differentiations, because we've written features, but to write a series, The Wire is notoriously regarded as one of the greatest shows of all time. And Doug Allen said when he went to speak to HBO executives, they said this is the Bible. So do you know how you get a Bible for a web series? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Explain
to
the
don't,
group. Yeah.
Okay, it's like a 1,300 page breakdown of every character, every scene, every location, every story thread that talks about that series as a whole in like the first season. So your Bible is where you start from, and most executives will say, hey, to greenlight your show, we need your series Bible. This only happens on series, not films, because they want to know. Yeah, because you have the foresight to figure out where you're taking these characters, because that's a big deal, right? So, but man, it's incredibly challenging. So to land an ending for something like that, for a series like Lost is considered one of the greatest shows on television. You think J.J. Abrams, Damon Lindelof, all these big name producers, and the last season and the ending itself was trash. I mean, Lindelof has gone on to say that his ending actually almost ruined his career.
Yep,
and
I remember that.
You know, so it's a big deal.
I never got into Lost. I never watched it.
Me neither.
I never.
But Jessica loves it.
She does.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so here we go. Which topic does the chat want us to start with? Lost is trash only because of the ending. Only because of the ending. Wow, okay. Rodriguez watched it. Okay.
I hear it, Mike. Like, honestly, Jessica says the same thing. Jessica loves it except the ending. Like, if they could go back and fix that, it's considered a great show, dude. Like, yeah, there's a lot of production value behind it, and it did a lot for those actors. So I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of shows that I like watching. There's some that start off good, start off medium, but these shows I will always refer to people. I think they're amazing shows, and we're gonna get right into it. So, Chris, which topic do you want to start off with? Chat, do you think apocalyptic, drama, or sci-fi? Say in the chat which ones you guys want us to hear first. Chat, Chris, which ones do you want to start with? Yeah, please.
You know, yeah. I think I'm gonna my apocalyptic. I think is gonna be different than your apocalyptic. So I'm down. Let's do that. My vote is for apocalyptic, and I have a definition of that too.
Okay. So yeah. Blue said apocalyptic first. Yeah. Okay, great. So let's do that. Let's jump into it.
Go for it.
Let's do it. Okay. Well, actually, I'm gonna open the floor for you, Chris. What is your favorite apocalyptic show? We're gonna start there.
Well, I think it's important to define apocalyptic too. I think because there's a whole bunch of definitions.
Society and
virus. So see, I see it differently. I see it society that has been changed because of an event, like the world itself. It's got to be a global scale, in my opinion. Something that has shaken the global, I guess, economy scale. Mm-hmm. There's a before and an after. And so for me, it's a show called The Leftovers on HBO.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to say it.
It's true. So the premise, have you seen it or no?
No, I haven't. You told me about it, and I told Rachel we should start watching. I think that's one of our lists.
It's incredible. I would go back and watch it with you guys, and we could discuss after because it's that good. And so the premise is,
please, tell the premise to the viewers, please.
Okay, so it's I think it's 3% or 10%. I forget which one. It's one of those percentages that the world's population just vanishes. They just go away. There's no murders. They just basically are zapped out of reality. And so they're still there. You have pictures of these people. All their clothes are still there. Like, they're literally just vanished. In some cases, we have people that were pregnant and they just lose the baby because the baby's one of the ones that were pulled up.
Oh, wow.
And so it's an interesting story. That's intense. It's not the first time, because they did there was a religious book series called, I think it was called The Rapture or The Rapture, based on that when I was, I think, in the 90s. And it was very popular.
Left Behind.
Thank you, Left Behind, which was based on The Rapture, or the event was called The Rapture.
Yeah, and so I remember that. I remember that show. It was like a miniseries, right? Yeah.
Well, it was books. It was book first, and then it was kind of built into it. So in this case, it's such a broad statement. You have, I think it's like 140 million people, and again, keep in mind that there's 7 billion people on the planet, right? So when you break it down in terms of percentages, it's not a great percentage. It's like 3 or 10%. There's still, you've got 90% of people, or 97% of people left. But what they do, and what they do magnificently, is they take the individual stories and they tell them. You have a mother who had, I think it was 3 kids and a husband who all just vanished.
Wow, the whole family?
The whole family.
Okay, so is there like a supernatural entity that's doing this? Like,
no,
alien? They're just gone. It never goes into it?
They're just gone, and they never explain it. And that's part of, I think, the interesting part, because if there was an explanation, then you'd have some type of closure. And that's what these people never have. They never have, was it God pulling people up? Was it just some scientific quantum realm that pulled them back? Like, there's no explanation given. And of course, as humans, and this is where I really feel like it does the best work. As humans, we look for a reason. We look for a reason why. We look for some type of closure. And so these characters try that. They try to move on. But then that's the question. How do you move on from someone who's imprinted on your life and they just vanish? Wouldn't you try and figure that part of it out? And so it's just such an interesting and very personal story. I mean, There's 7 or 8 main characters. They talk about God. They talk about, they talk about science. They
Do they
talk
talk
about
about
how
aliens
they
at
can get
all?
back. I think at some point
Yeah.
it is, but and it's very serious. Like there's very little comedy in the show, so everything is treated.
How many seasons?
There are 3 seasons, and the
Okay.
second one is exceptional. The second one that's when it was regarded as the best show on television, and that's also
Really?
how Justin Theroux. Yeah, and Justin Theroux, he showed male emotion better than any other actor I've ever seen in any other film.
Man, these
or
are big
series
words.
ever.
These are big words stacking
I
up
know.
like this.
And
I feel like I'm getting trolled in my chat. Are you seeing this right now?
No, I've actually got that. Oh my god.
David's like, with 7 billion, at least 1% can be anything. So there has to be at least someone who identifies as a zombie out there.
At that point, that might be true, or like a dog person, or something like that.
Okay,
but
that's it. Okay, so 3 seasons. Where can we watch this?
HBO Max, it's on there. It wraps up. And again, it lands the ending. And I will say, and this is why I bring up Lost. Damon Lindelof was the creator of this show. He was also one of the co-creators of Lost.
Okay.
So he said,
I like how you started off saying Lost is trash, and then now we're into watch this show. He also created this one.
Yeah, this is my segue to that. That he said after the ending came out, there was a bunch of press talking about, because it is an open-ended ending, but it wasn't nearly as open-ended as kind of some of the other not so well-received series that are out there. So what he said was, he literally stayed up for weeks trying to figure out how to land this ending, because had he been another Lost, he said he might have killed himself.
Oh no, man, that's serious. God.
I know, it's true. I mean, think about it. I mean, when your entire life revolves around a show, and then it's say it's shit for the last season, and then you get the opportunity, and this show is equally well received by critics and audiences combined, you need to stick the landing, because if you don't, that's what you're going to remember for it. Just like Game of Thrones. You said Game of Thrones before, and that's true, right? Game of Thrones is a great show.
That's not my pick. That's not my pick, guys.
Yeah. But that's it. Leftovers for me is post-apocalyptic. I'm going to throw it back to you. What's your post-apoc?
Okay. Here we go. So, this is my pick, and I know there's a couple of my friends out there that are going to be jumping on this as well, too. Drum roll, please.
Do we have
Jericho. Jericho is my pick for a post-apocalyptic show. I have it on the screen.
That was a good one.
This was, but I was not involved. My buddy David Harris. Yep, he's like Jericho. Yep, Jericho right here, man. These guys, like, I started, like, when the pandemic started happening, I went back to all my favorite shows that I liked watching, and like it was a tough pick for this one. It was either Jericho or his Last Ship, both of which David Harris actually introduced me to, and Jericho's only, David, back me up, but I think it's only 2 seasons, which is sad because it was such potential. It is an amazing show. It starts off with this family. I think it's Texas, Jericho, Texas, if I'm not mistaken, or is it Kansas? It might be one of those. I think it's Kansas. David's gonna have to.
Well, it's a double entendre, right? So give us the presence for people that don't know.
Okay. So basically, Jericho is literally current day, back then as well too. Basically, what it is that nukes start going off all across the United States, and they don't know how or they don't know why. It follows this group of people in this town of Jericho. It has actually one of the first times I ever saw this character. I can't remember what his name is. He plays Morgan in The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah,
character.
Okay.
I can't remember his name. It's Kansas. Okay, yeah. Not my 10. Yeah, Kansas. Definitely. I knew it was somewhere in the middle.
Lenny James.
Lenny James. Yes, amazing. Yeah. This guy, we'll all know him from Scream. He was the bad guy in Scream. This whole family, I've told all my friends to watch this that have it, because David Harris showed me the show. We watched it when I was in college. It was one of my favorites. It still is. And it's my pick because of how this community bands together to survive when they're cut off from the government, from other people. They have to watch out for the radiation because the nuke goes off somewhere in Kansas City and they're right near there. How they defend their homes, and then like how what they do to survive and actually connect to other towns as they're out there too. They're also trying to do. Okay, this town, they specialize in mining. You know, so this place that has materials. This is a farming community and stuff like that too. How we protect our crops from going bad. How do we defend the crops from getting bad? Because now that we're in the situation that we don't get any help from outside people, how do we band together and actually survive? So it's got a great community standpoint. It's got conspiracy back there. We don't know how the nukes went off. I'm not going to spoil it too much for everybody that wants to watch it that hasn't seen it. But Chris, if you haven't seen Jericho, you should definitely watch it.
Does it wrap up? Like, do they know they're getting a finality at the end of season 2, or is it left open ended for like a season 3 if it got picked up?
So this is the thing. It actually wrapped up in like a comic book because unfortunately it got canceled after the second season. But the ending kind of wrapped it up where it's like still unknown. You still know some things, but you don't. It could have continued. It could have continued in the show, in my opinion. I think it could have done great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people
the cast is great.
Speak fairly highly of it. Yeah,
the cast is great.
Really
it stands up to time too. It's one of those shows that you can watch it again, even though it came out. I think it's in the '90s.
Yeah.
But it's a great show. It's got one of the coolest freaking intros that intros can sometimes be really long and boring. It literally just starts off with white noise and just says Jericho jumps into the show every time, which is great. It's awesome. But yeah, there's like here's a map and stuff like that. So this map, every single one of these like little red dots, a nuke goes off, and that's what happens. And then all of a sudden, like the half of the United States becomes its own country. The lower part becomes its own country at the end. It's just amazing. I really like it because the character development was amazing. I'm losing half my notes right now because I'm just so excited to talk about this show. But
no, that's cool, man. Yeah. Do you think they could remake it today? Do you think if they remade it today, they would have?
Chat. Whoever's seen the show, would you like to see a remake of this show? I don't know because I think they could. It's definitely it's a great show. I think they could remake it, but would I want to see a remake of it? I don't know. It's hard to see something great and have the potential of it getting ruined, as we've seen.
Yeah.
Oh, the writer's strike is what got it canceled. That's what David said.
No, that makes sense. No, that made that. Yeah. Interesting. They canceled. They didn't bring it back.
It's great, dude. I love it. What is one of the best things is that these people start off in one way, and the character development of what they go through as a family, friends, in the outside world, trying to either get what they have or find out what they have. Because Lenny James, there's a secret from him that the team that people don't know. He actually has a nuke. He was part of this conspiracy theory to set this up. He has a nuke, and he's protecting his family because he was part of this group that did this. And how it transpires of how to keep that nuke safe from other people who are looking for it because they want to set it off. And he's in that town, and nobody else really knows about it.
Did they ever figure out why the nuke got set off?
They find out. Yeah, they wanted to restart the. It was domestic terrorists pretty much. That wanted to get rid of the old way of doing things. Is basically what I got.
Interesting.
Not even remake, just bring the next phase. Yes, David, I would love if they picked it up again instead of a reboot. If they continue the story, I would watch that 100%.
Huh. That's interesting. I mean, the double entendre on the name itself, and I remember people saying that they really enjoyed it. And the shame that it went on for only 2 seasons, because I think they said there were some legs behind it.
I'm going to check my facts on that. Let me see. I think it's only 2.
No, sure. I think that's what David said in the chat. David, I think, mentioned that there's only 2 seasons.
Came out in 2006, and only 2 seasons. First season is about 22 episodes, which is standard, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
For network television.
Yeah. Came out in 2006, ended in 2008.
I was gonna bet my money that you were gonna say Walking Dead, and I was ready to jump all over you for it. I'm like, please. The Bear Trap was said. I'm like, please say Walking Dead.
No,
please say Walking Dead.
No, I can't, dude. I can't say Walking Dead. I'm probably one of the only people that actually liked Walking Dead's second season.
I liked Walking Dead's second season. I
really?
didn't mind. But again, I like Shane. I think Shane was the most interesting character.
Yes.
I like the Shane.
When you gave me the part of Robert, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna Shane this up.
Well, it's true. Like, and I'm sure there was some elements of Shane in that, and the governor, because I think they're so motivated. And that was, yeah. I think the first couple of seasons of Walking Dead were good, but I mean, I haven't actually sat and watched a Walking Dead on release night. And
let's put it this way. I liked Fear the Walking Dead season 3 better than I liked most of The Walking Dead.
Yeah. But Fear actually had employed some heavy hitters as actors, and I mean, I think they did a better job with it. But I mean, that's that.
So. All right. So anyway, what's next? What's next? We have sci-fi, not sci-fi. I'm sorry. We have a conspiracy drama, right?
I'm cool with that. I went first last time, so you get to go. It was the snake draft,
what?
So you get to go again.
Snake
draft?
No,
I went first.
I just went.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
All right.
Your turn. We're going to go back and forth.
You're right.
So I'm writing down leftovers is what you said for yours.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm writing this down for my tier list. And
it's
and chat, if you have your own shows that you really like out of these tier lists, please put them in the chat so we can watch them.
And I would love
to review some other shows.
The ones I'm picking, they're not standard network television shows, so they're only 10 episodes long, and they're an hour. So there's that. And I do think the format of the 22 episode kind of serial, I think that's kind of going away. At least for some of the bigger, higher production value ones like we see on HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, and even ESPN for that matter.
Okay.
But I think the biggest thing about it is they can pump more money into 10-hour-long episodes as a 22, half an hour or 22-minute episodes that have commercials too. But that's only, I think, with premium channels, because they control their content, stars, and all that shit. But okay, so do you want to do corporate drama or sci-fi? We gonna put in the chat, or do you...
Let's do conspiracy drama.
Conspiracy drama for me, and this is probably one of my favorite shows of all time. This is season 1 of True Detective, and I have to specify that because they are anthological series with different characters, right? So season 1 of True Detective did so much for not only McConaughey and Harrelson's career, but I mean, it really launched Nick's, the writer and creators. They launched his career. I think Cary Fukunaga's career, who's I think he directed one of the It's. He directed something I can't think of right now. But dude, that series is so layered. It's so interesting. It's so intense.
I did like that one. I did like that one a lot.
You saw season 1.
I've seen all of them.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Is that your favorite?
Not my favorite. That's not my next one. No.
No. I mean, is
that
my favorite?
The series
of the 3?
People are gonna get so much flack for. I really liked season 2. I
didn't mind season 2. I didn't like the casting of Vince Vaughn. I think his casting was so wrong, I thought. But everything else, I enjoyed Colin Farrell in it. I loved him in it.
I liked his character. I like Rachel McAdams' character the most.
She has a line in this, and every time people ask me, and you've brought this up to me, I'm going to sidebar this real quick. And I like to write female characters for my films and series. And you like to ask me why, and I remember this. It's because her line in that series to Colin Farrell when she tells him, you know what the fundamental difference between a man and a woman is a man can strangle the life out of, can kill a woman with his bare hands, and that's so true. So therefore, you have to create more inventive and creative ways on how, if you have a female antagonist, how she kind of propagates her web.
Like so that knife move that she uses, like that dummy, that was cool.
Exactly. Yeah. But for me, it's season 1. For me, I loved the backdrop. I mean, on all the BTS that you can watch, they talk about how Louisiana was.
Rachel, look what Andrew said in the chat.
How they have Carnaval de Mardi Gras de Carnaval. They have these old ritualistic things that go on in the South, and that people are kind of forgotten because you have these, Katrina. And it's funny, again, side note, we were actually in New Orleans for Jessica's sister's wedding. I think it's 3 years ago now, maybe 2 years ago, whatever. Yeah. And so they're saying they wanted to go visit some of these places, and some actually like Uber drivers or tour guides said they will not go into some places in New Orleans. New Orleans is a major city. They will not go in some places there because of how bad the crime is. They said people get disappeared all the time.
Really?
And so like it's no joke. And it's funny because you mix that.
Gilmore Girls is like one of her favorite shows,
with something that's elegant
so
in that city, because
you're treading on thin ice on that.
When you think of Mardi Gras, you think of the parades, you think of Bourbon Street, you think of I think 4 Super Bowls have been held there. It's a big ass city. There's a lot of commerce there.
I think Rodriguez has been there. I think he was telling me.
Dude,
I've always wanted to go. I wanted to go on Mardi Gras. I thought that would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Dude, Mardi Gras is wild. I can imagine. I just imagine being wild, dude. But the show, the first season they do just such a great job building tension, and you have these characters, and I know you and I talk about it a lot, where we have bad guys that you can relate to.
Okay.
Here are good guys that are bad. They're fractured heroes, and I think that's what it's called. Shakespeare might have. I think they are called. I think it's fractured heroes, but I'm not sure. Where these guys are 80% likable, but the 20% that's unlikable is very unlikable, and you see that. And I think they really create realistic people.
It was very realistic, definitely.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so it's not all glitter and gold.
What I liked about so sorry, I'm gonna
No, go ahead.
What I liked about the show is it was jumping back and forth. They did that really well. Most shows are horrible about that when they jump back and forth from like future and what was going on in the past and stuff like that and how they got there. That's one of the shows they did really well with, and it actually opens up to my pick, which they did phenomenal with. Most people don't know about this show. I think it flew under the radar for a long time, but my pick Did you want to bring up anything else? I'm so sorry.
No. No, that's a great segue. I think I can talk all day about this. No, go for it.
I'm sure we will. So my pick for drama / conspiracy theory kind of show would be Person of Interest. Person of Interest, I've always said for the longest time, has been my favorite show. And it's hard for me to pick a favorite out of anything, honestly. Person of Interest kept my attention from the first episode, and it has the best, and I'll fight anybody on this, the best finale to a show ever.
Better than Breaking Bad?
Better than Breaking Bad.
I've never heard Person of Interest. Well, okay, go ahead. So tell me, I've never heard of the show, so go for it. Lay it on me.
Yep. Person of Interest follows these two characters. It's got Jim Caviezel, who after he did Passion,
he's great,
and he's amazing in this show. I love his character in this show so much, and I keep telling all my friends that are in law enforcement or military to watch this just because of his story arc in the show itself. It starts off right after 9/11 happened, and coincidentally enough, Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, is the showrunner for this show. He created it. And I think Christopher Nolan actually helps him out with some of the writing for it, if I'm not mistaken,
sure
as well, too.
Yeah.
Because the brothers always help each other, you know.
Yeah, Syncopy's usually involved, and that's their production company. They're usually involved with each other's stuff.
Person of Interest, I will tell anybody to watch it. You have to watch it, because watch the first season. It's amazing. And like I said before, the past and present and future kind of stuff does this show justice so well. Because
how many seasons are there?
5.
Oh, wow.
I'm rewatching it right now. Me and Rachel are on season 3 right now, and it is still my favorite show. I don't care what I've watched. I've watched Game of Thrones. I've watched Walking Dead. I've watched everything. Breaking Bad. Person of Interest, I will sit down and watch over and over again. Because
what do you like most about it?
What I like most about it is the is the human aspect about it. Basically, after 9/11 happened, this guy, Harold Finch, in the glasses and the suit, he creates a machine, an AI, that basically helps the government know about future terrorist threats. Him and his friend, Nathan, decide they've been running a company, and so they decide as a civil service to create this machine to help us predict the next terrorist attack on U.S. soil. So they create this machine that's supposed to all it gives is a number, which is a social security number of a person, and then it leaves it up to the human element to find out what's going to happen. So they call those relevant numbers, right? And they give those to the government, but the AI sees everything. Okay, I'm not going to give it away too much, but basically there are what the government terms irrelevant numbers. People out there that are going to die either being a perpetrator or a victim of a violent attack on themselves or other people. So his consciousness gets to him because he realizes the government isn't looking into these just terrorist ones, just as all the government does. They just care about what they want, right? Mm-hmm. So he takes upon himself to find these irrelevant people and save them. And he hires Jim Caviezel character, John Reese, to do that. John Reese is an ex-CIA agent, and that at this time in the very beginning of his life, he's pretty much a bum. He's living on the streets, he's not taking care of himself, and he doesn't have a purpose at all. Finch gives him that purpose, and he does something good with his life. He has a backstory that's dark. He used to kill people for the government, the CIA, and all this other stuff, and he felt like he lost his humanity, and he gets that back from doing these things for other people. And there's a bunch of other characters in there too. There's other people that have backstories as well too. There's hackers. There's bad cops that were bad people and stuff like that too. There's a whole element of like this underground cop ring that they call HR that are all full of bad cops and basically doing deals with mafia and government and stuff like that too. There's hackers. There's people out there that they help that show up later on in other seasons and stuff like that too. It's just got a huge heart in the show. And that's why I stress to everybody that's watching right now, please go on HBO Max, watch it. I guarantee you're going to love it.
Interesting. I might have to pick that up. I like what you're putting down, the way you describe it, because it does sound relevant. You know, and I mean,
you used the term relevant. I love it.
Why should it not?
Because that's the process. What is relevant? To who? That's what it is. What's relevant in life? You know, are you relevant to other people? Are you relevant to other people in your job, your life, your friends, your family, and stuff like that too? What makes you relevant to society or to you as a whole is basically what this whole story is about. And like Rachel and I have always said, it's the most well-rounded show for character development I've ever seen.
And this is a scripted. This no, obviously scripted. This is a 22 episode then, right? So it was on CBS. I think it was on CBS. If I
It was on CBS. HBO Max has it, guys. Please watch it. If you're looking for a show to watch, you will not be disappointed. I guarantee it.
So two of your shows have been on like national syndication channels. So that usually means they're not rated R. How does that stand up? And these are very serious tones. It sounds like. So does it not have certain levels of violence or swearing or adult content?
I'm gonna say one thing. Yes, it does.
It does.
Yeah. People
Even
get
though
killed,
it was on,
people
like,
get
normal...
tortured, people get shot, and stuff like that too. But cursing, I really don't know. I think they say the F-bomb at least a couple times itself in there. But it's like, okay, for example, one of my favorite characters, and this really doesn't give it away. I'm gonna try and not spoil this. But one of my favorite characters in here, his name is Elias. And he was the bastard son of a mafia boss that comes back after the mafia boss kills his wife, his mom, basically, and comes back and kind of takes over that network because he sees it being used in a wrong way, and he can do it better. But he does one of the lines that is one of my favorite lines, and he says, oh gosh, what is it? I think it's like, society thinks that we should treat our perpetrators better than they treated their victims. He talks about jail and all this other stuff, and he's like, that's not me. You killed this person. I don't think she liked me very much. I liked her a lot, but you killed her, and I offered her to kill you many times, and she always turned me down. And then one of the guys he's like, you're not gonna kill me. He's like, no, of course not. That's not my thing. My friend's gonna kill you. I'm just gonna watch. It's one of the best scenes in the whole show. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it again because the acting is on point every scene. There's not a moment in there that I'm watching it that I'm what's it called? I'm disconnected from it. I'm in it all the way. You know, it's just great. Honestly, Chris, you should definitely watch it. I would be down for you to watch it, the whole thing, and then coming back and circle back and doing a whole just podcast about the show.
That might be our trade. If you watch The Leftovers, I might.
I'm down for that too. I'm going to do that. It's on my list. Yep.
Yeah, it's that's cool. It sounds to me, because I always worry about on nationally syndicated shows.
I'm not giving enough away stuff. Don't say that.
NBC,
whatever. I won't.
They're gonna. There's something lacking. You know what I mean? Only because they have certain stipulations and guidelines they can't go over because of the audience factor. There's So I always worry that it's going to detract from the story somehow. But the way you're talking about it, it sounds like it doesn't. That doesn't affect it, which is a big plus for me. So I'm gonna have to watch it. Yeah, that's interesting.
I think you should, dude. I think you're gonna really like it a lot. That's my pick for my favorite show out of the three, but also my favorite show of that genre.
So that's your favorite show. Out of what we're talking about today.
My favorite show, Person of Interest. It's great. I love it. Like I said, the finale, it'll make you cry, it'll make you cheer, and at the same time, it'll end. And then also, spoiler alert, it's getting picked back up to continue. In 2022.
Oh, interesting. Are they rebooting it, or
no?
Are they
it's continuing. They're continuing it.
No shit. Is it gonna be on? Is HBO getting it, or is CBS getting it?
HBO Max is getting it.
Nice. So there'll be some money involved with that. That's great. That's great. That's real great. That's awesome. It's funny listening.
David, that's your next show, dude. You need to watch this. I swear to God, you're gonna love it. Chat, you'll love it too.
Yeah, that's. Listening to you talk about it, it's a great segue into my last show, into our sci-fi category. Right. You ready to roll on?
I'm ready. Anybody else have any questions about this show or any of the other ones we talked about so far?
They don't. Nah, fuck that. No. They don't get to ask questions. They can. Your story sounds a lot like my sci-fi. Westworld is right now. It's my favorite sci-fi television series, and there's a lot of them out there.
Is that your pick?
The Expanse.
Is that your pick?
Yeah, it's my pick.
Wow. Okay, because I fell off that show after I think this first season.
A lot of people fell off in season 2 because that's when it started to shift. So Westworld did this thing, and so you saw season 1, and so Westworld for people who don't know, if there are people who don't know, because it's fairly new. It's only been around for maybe like 4 or 5 seasons. It's this old Western town, and everybody's there. It was robots, and people pay shit tons of money, take this train in, they get to dress up as cowboys, and they get to do whatever they want in this virtual playground. But it's not virtual. It's actually, it's real for all intents and purposes. So season 1 is basically a Western with 20% sci-fi in, where we get, basically you see the controllers, there's some type of layered backstory in. It's season 1 was good, right? Season 1 was okay. Season 2 was okay. Season 2 is when it made that bridge where we have, and also Evan Rachel Wood's a star now because of it. She was already kind of a B-lister, but I'd say she's a solid A-lister. And we have Anthony Hopkins is in season 1.
He's the only reason why I got into the show. Ed Harris and him. That's the only reason why I'm like, okay, I'll watch it.
And Ed Harris is fucking great in the entire series. Man in Black is a great character for that. I can't think of the other dude's name. He's been in Bond.
The young guy that played him originally?
No, he's not
because he's in Person of Interest, by the way.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, the black guy. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank on him right now. He's fucking great. Jeffrey something or other, and I wish I knew right now, but Jeffrey Wright. Thank you.
Okay.
Jeffrey Wright.
Oh, him. Yeah. He's playing Commissioner Gordon in the new Batman movie.
Yes. Thank you. And so he's wonderful. And so anyway,
okay, Rachel wants to watch it again. I'm putting it down. I'm sure David Harris is going to like me saying that too.
It's actually great. And so season 3, what happens is now the park's gone. I don't want to spoil it for people, but it's a different outcome. It goes from being a Western to a sci-fi series within 3 seasons. And that's incredibly difficult to do. You lose a lot of your audience base if they can't roll that, because it's smart. Right. They expect your audience to be smart with it. So and they create a computer much like the one you're talking about in Person of Interest, where one that can that can predict not just what people do, but what people will do, what they will become. It's very Kryptonian, if we're going to pull back from Man of Steel, where people are born with certain duties. You're going to be a soldier.
Oh,
you're going to be a construction worker.
Okay.
And then it will determine through probability if something is going to unset that, like Perfect Republic.
Ooh,
like if there's an anomaly that happens.
Now I'm on board.
And so Dolores is Evan Rachel Wood's character, and she's kind of the one who understands the machine. So she is the anomaly. So anyway, I don't want to ruin it, but it's exceptional. It's 10 episodes. It's an hour long. I mean, you could binge it in a weekend if you're bored, maybe a week if you've got plenty of time. But the production value is really high. Some of the individual stories are fantastic, and I can't say enough about Westworld. I really can't, especially season 3.
Do they try and give the AI like a humanity side of it kind of thing, or is it just solely like watching the way the plan's supposed to work out? Is that how it works?
There you go, exactly how the plan is worked, and it's created by 2 dudes who I think were at one point stockbrokers, and they could figure out when the stock market is going to hit and miss. So they made billions on that, right? It's basically having like a Biff Baker's sports almanac, and now you know how everything's going to plan out. But this is done with science and numbers. So, I can't, it's so good because of how smart it is. And you talk about unrest and think about it. If you knew, and so this computer, I'm leaving lots of parts out because I'm excited, but this computer can tell you exactly not just when you're going to die, but how you're going to die. So understand that if you knew that you were going to die in 6 months and the best job that you were ever going to have was a construction worker, and again, nothing wrong with that, but like it creates things in these people where it's like, fuck it, what am I doing if I've only got 6 months left and this is the best I'm ever going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to change that? You know what I mean? So that's kind of the mindset that these characters have going forward. So it creates this civil unrest, right? So that way you can kind of change the idea of having predestination, and you can change that.
So
anyway.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm wrapping that part of it up.
I was gonna say, so is it at all like, is it always right about how this thing happened? Like, so like, does it develop into like this predetermined process for everybody itself?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't go off, does it do like a not GoldenEye, but Eagle Eye kind of thing, where it's like it's gonna try and make that future happen, or is that something that the people in the show make happen themselves, kind of like
exactly kind of it doesn't change anything, it just predicts it to like a mathematical certainty of like 99%. So if things start changing, then you have these then you have these cracks and fractures in the society, and so and then this you know what I mean, it doesn't change things, it just shows you where change is happening, and then it's up to people if they want to change it. And again,
they can.
Yeah, so people understand, we have an issue here and we need to fix it to get things back to where they were. And I'm not doing it nearly justice by explaining. I'm so excited talking about it. I might go back and watch it tonight. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely see it.
Yeah.
And the production value is super high.
The chat's actually talking about my runner-up for my sci-fi one. They're talking about Black Mirror right now.
Oh yeah,
I liked Black Mirror. I thought it was very interesting. It brought a lot of actors into the limelight a little bit more too. I mean, we got Shuri just based off of somebody the director that directed Black Panther saw an episode of Black Mirror where Shuri was in that one episode where she comes back to seek justice for her parents or something, her mom or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He watched that and he hired her for Black Panther just off that episode.
Yeah,
and in the new Captain America, Wyatt Russell was in one of those episodes too. The one where it's like a VR video game kind of thing. I thought that was a great show. It's not my pick for my my sci-fi show itself, but it's definitely a great show. I really like that one a lot.
Before we get into your pick, how do you feel? Because sci-fi, I tell everybody, sci-fi is a hard target to hit, right? I mean, because you have to do a lot to make sci-fi believable and also realistic, but also not fantastic, or fantastic but also realistic.
I break it down to 3 parts.
What are your 3 parts? I'll take the bait.
The 3 parts. The chemistry between the characters and the actors. It has to be good. It has to be.
What does it have to, but that could be anything, right? Chemistry between the characters and the actors. You could say that about drama. How does that change? But like they believe, that's what I mean.
They believe they believe in the story. They believe in the actual process. I think the X-Files is a good segue for that as well too, because the chemistry between those characters were really good, but they also were in situations that were out of this world. The CGI has to be on point. It can't look fake. Otherwise, I'm immediately turned off. And the story has to be going somewhere. It just can't be like, oh, okay, there's this thing out there. Okay, whatever. It has to be leading in a certain direction for me to be interested.
Let me ask you a question, because I know we're going to talk about this later in a different podcast. But see, mine is the opposite. You have to have a good story, and then from that, good characters will come. But here's my thing: if you do you think that good characters will save a bad story, or that a good story will save bad characters? If you had to pick one of the
hammer, my God.
I know, because I think it's important for sci-fi. Because sci-fi, I think I don't want to give you my point of view until I hear yours, but I stand on one side of that fence when it comes to sci-fi films.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you can have good characters, bad story, or good story, bad characters. And I don't want to say bad, but one is clearly better than the other.
I mean, that's so hard, man. That's difficult for me to say, because I feel like if you don't have good actors, that's who you're watching, right? Mm-hmm. They're the ones that kind of push that story through. But without a good story, what are they going to base it off of? As an actor, how are you going to read into that?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a conundrum. We should.
For me, I think if your story is good, because the variable that we have is that your audience has to resonate with your audience. Your audience has to believe the story, because if they believe your story, they may not care about the actors, because I've seen that, but they may tune in for the story. But I get what you're saying. The reverse is true too. They may not give a shit about your story, but if you've got kick-ass actors, because True Blood can kind of fills into that space where, True Blood. Did you ever see True Blood?
I didn't. I think Rachel did. I don't think I ever got into that. I got into more of the originals and Vampire Diaries, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd love to hear Rachel's opinion on that, whether she felt the characters or the story, which one of the two were stronger. But for me, because of the ridiculousness of some of the story, the characters really drove it. And so, that was a position. But again, for sci-fi, it's got to have that element of realism and fantastic that you can believe as an audience member. They're like, okay, well, this works. This isn't so far out there that we're not going to, like, The Martian. The Martian was something that's like, well, maybe not in our generation, but the next generation. So I think that's why people really resonated with that. Of course, Matt Damon's that. Anyway, to your pick. I'm sorry, Nate. I'm prattling on, which I will do forever. I'm sorry.
No, it's good, man. I like this is the whole point. I want to get everybody's opinion, not just mine and yours, but chat and our viewers and stuff.
Up, man.
Yeah, it is. They're all talking. I think they're talking about. Oh, David says, "Great story, terrible actors suck." Okay, that's. I feel like that resented. If the actors are there, they kind of create their own story a little bit. I feel like. I think that would be my answer, honestly.
Interesting.
Rachel said, I didn't comprehend the extremeness of the characters. I only got a couple episodes in. Oh, okay. I don't think she watched all of True Blood then. I don't think.
It is ridiculous. Like the level of absurdity. I see what you're saying. She's pretty right when it comes to that. Yeah.
All right. Because it's hard with those vampire shows, because I nitpick them a lot. Because I'm like, okay, you create one of the, okay, here's my answer for sci-fi. you tell the audience what the rules are. And if you stay within that area, it's good. You have to create the rules of the world. But if you start breaking those off and start coming up with different stories, oh, we're just going to write this and make it easy writing, then I start getting disconnected from it. Because I have, and Rachel batters me on about this, I get very, very picky with my sci-fi genres with vampires, werewolves, aliens, and things like that too. If you start going out of the scope of what it's supposed to be, unless you start off by saying they can do this, they can walk out in the sunlight, I'm like, okay, cool, that's your version. I'll stick with that. But if you're saying just vampires, you don't tell me anything about them, then I can't really base it off of anything, you know?
I couldn't agree more. That's a great. Yeah, I totally agree. That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
So, for example, David talked about the show C. We just watched the first season on Apple TV. Loved the show. They created a world, they created the rules, and they gave you one little, not cheat so much, but one little thing where these two people can actually see, but the rest of the whole world can't. They're all blinded. So that's a very easy. I love that show. I thought it was great. It's got Jason Momoa. I thought he's amazing in that show. I can't wait for the next season coming out this year.
Are they born without vision, or do they lose? Do they have it and then lose it? Because that makes a difference.
Apparently, something happened where the world was in this war, and then all of a sudden, the entire humanity was blind. So people are constantly being born, and they're also blind. They're born blind. They can't see.
Okay, gotcha.
But there's two kids that get born, and these two children, I think they're twins. They're twins. They can actually see. And there's certain sects that believe that being able to see is a curse and needs to be corrected. It's not part of the new world anymore. They blame the fact that we could see that we ruined the world because we could. And now people that are blind are the true people, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Well, I guess, yeah, I could see that. The evolution of people is now without sight. Yeah, I could see the argument.
So my last show pick for sci-fi, and people that know me probably could tell I was going to say this, and this is my pick for my favorite sci-fi show, and it is probably one of the longest running ever of this genre. Supernatural. I was a fan from the first season. I stuck with it to the end, and it killed me at the end with how they had to film it for COVID, and they got shut down halfway through and stuff like that too. But Dean Winchester is probably one of the characters that I will compare myself, or I can relate to the most in a TV show. I love that character. I love the show. I love the backstory. I love real life vampire supernatural-esque type shows. One of my favorite book series is the Dresden Files, and I relate to that one a lot when it comes to comparing it to other shows that are like it. So Supernatural is going to be my pick for the what's it called?
So that's a CW show, right?
Yes, it is.
Did you tell me about it? Because I've heard people talk about it. I've never seen an episode of it. So give me the premise. Give me the bullet.
Okay, so there's two brothers, and basically what they do is they hunt monsters and save. Pretty much, it's like hunting monsters, saving people. Family business is pretty much the tagline for the show. Two brothers, Sam and Dean Winchester. Their father is hunting a demon in the first season that killed their mom. And Sam is kind of cursed. You don't know what his deal is so much. You find out later on. Dean is kind of your regular Joe that's just hunting monsters, so to speak, as they go on. And it goes into vampires, ghouls, different kind of sci-fi creatures that most people don't know about, like skinwalkers, wendigos, and stuff like that. And it started around the time that Smallville was a thing, and Andrew's saying Smallville too. Yeah, it starts off with that, and it just expands and keeps going to other different it even brings into angels and demons, and the fact that there's a god and there's a devil and stuff like that too. One of the best things they do is they do a lot of possession stuff with like demons possessing people that I really liked. They did that really well. But I just loved the show. I grew up on it when I was in high school, and I continued into my young adult life. And it ended last year, which killed me, and it was probably one of the saddest. Not really the saddest, but it was sad for me for the show to end, to see it go away after 15 years of the show. It went on for 15 seasons, man.
And this is normal, like this is 22 episodes, half hour, right? This is a lot of fucking episodes, right?
Yep, and some people died off. Sometimes it felt like it would repeat itself. Sometimes the episodes weren't that good, and sometimes they were amazing. So it's just one of those shows that I just stuck with because I grew up on it. I loved it I just wanted to see it to the end.
So, I mean, you bring up a good point about that. How does a show that runs for 22 episodes a season for 15 seasons it's a half an hour show, right? Or is it an hour?
I don't know, honestly. I think it's like a regular 45-minute show kind of thing,
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so it's an hour like with commercials then.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that stay fresh, man? Because I mean I'm no mathematician, but 22 episodes times 15 seasons, 22 times 15.
Yeah, sometimes they were 40 minutes long. 44 minutes was basically the standard for that show. Yeah.
So how did it stay fresh? Like you didn't feel like at some point it was regurgitating itself, because that's a long time for everything to run.
They changed, like the characters themselves, not just doing regular character development. They changed themselves. Like sometimes, I've never seen a show kill off main characters and then bring them back more so than this show.
And it doesn't feel cheap the way they bring it back, like, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it can.
Yeah, sometimes it can. They just did it through doing deals with more powerful people and owing them favors or having to owe them certain things to do that. I'm not really ruining anything. I'm sure that people have watched it, or people will watch it itself. Like, for example, one of them goes to hell and comes back because an angel intervenes and brings him back to circumvent the apocalypse. For example, this show was only supposed to be 3 seasons long, but because of the fan base and the following of the show, that people loved it so much, they just kept bringing it back.
Interesting.
Yeah, and once they got into the angel and demon kind of thing, they kept playing with that and going back and forth, and they jumped into different worlds and different endings. Hey, the apocalypse, we stopped it. Oh, and this we didn't stop it the right way. Or they go into a different world itself where the apocalypse actually happened, and one of the brothers died, and we don't know why. Or Lucifer possessed the wrong person and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Huh. Rachel's talking about Penny Dreadful, and I really liked Penny Dreadful too, but I'm still... Supernatural will always stick with me, man. It's hard for me to even watch it again just because I grew up. It just hurts me too much to start it over again, I guess I should say.
Well, yeah, 150 episodes too. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, you have to.
Actually, more than that. It's 300 episodes because 22 episodes. Yeah, fuck yeah. I wanted to get into I really wanted to get into Penny Dreadful. It's on. I think it's on something we have. I might be on Netflix.
It's on HBO,
I like
isn't it?
No, it's on Netflix. Or it was on Netflix.
That did it.
Well, but it was on Netflix. So originally it's on Stars. But there's a spin-off, and it was a Hollywood boy. It's got the chick from Game of Thrones in it, Marjorie.
We watched the first episode and turned it off.
How is it? It really is not good?
It was not good. I didn't like it at all. No. I didn't get sucked into it the way Penny Dreadful sucked me in, because Penny Dreadful, it scared me.
And there's top-notch talent in Penny Dreadful. Like there are 3 A-list actors in that I can think of right now. So there's
I like Penny Dreadful, and Rachel will say if you haven't watched it, you need to.
Yeah, I think I might have to. But so going back to the Winchester brothers, I've heard when Jeffrey Dean Morgan was in that too, right? I saw some posts on Instagram that he was going back for the wrap-up, I think.
The funny thing is they even make allusions to other stuff these people have been in. For example, at one point in the season, Dean walks in with a bat that's wrapped in chain link, or what's it called, barbed wire. And he's like, "Oh man, killing those vampires is great. Dad used to love using this," and tosses it on the table. And that's it. They just make an allusion to the fact that he's Negan on Walking Dead now. But yeah, it's great, dude. I really liked it. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's in the first 2 seasons, and they actually bring him back in the 14th season for an episode, which was probably one of the most beautiful ways of bringing a character back that hasn't been in there for like 10 years.
So this is sci-fi, although I can make the argument that it's more horror based. How do you justify it being sci-fi and not horror?
Well, I mean, it's the first. I was gonna say that the first 3 seasons are a little bit more darker, but then you start getting what's it called? What's the word called that you've seen a lot of stuff and it doesn't affect you so much anymore?
Like
desensitized?
I mean, like desensitized. Okay,
desensitized.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you start getting desensitized to the horror aspect of it. You're like, oh, okay, cool. We've seen that guy. We know what he's like. We know that demon does. Okay, he's not scary so much because he's working with the brothers right now, that kind of thing. So that's why I would say sci-fi, because they actually develop with a lot more supernatural aspects itself. I wouldn't consider Supernatural being very horror-like, except for like the first 2 seasons, because things jump out. The character, like the creature development is a lot more scary in the first 2 seasons, because the brothers aren't really affected by these things later on. but in the very beginning, they don't know what they're doing so much as fact because they're following their dad's journal about how to fight these certain things. And sometimes there are scary stuff. I mean, at one point you find out that Sam's actually afraid of clowns, even though he goes up against ghouls and fangs and claws all the time. And the one thing that he's scared of is clowns, and it's one of the funniest episodes ever.
Interesting. Sounds to me like it's more horror than supernatural or sci-fi. But I will give you the, I'll take your word for it because you've seen 15 episodes or 15 seasons of it. So I believe it.
The comedy's there. There's a comedy aspect of that, and the fans really liked about the brothers more so
because horror comedy can get away. People love horror comedy. Mm-hmm. Comedy sci-fi is. I don't think maybe Orville. Orville's is comedy sci-fi. But
or is that the one? That's the show you were on, right? The one with Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah. I was an extra on that, but yeah.
I found you one time. I was like,
I know you did.
I'm looking for him.
I found my picture when I was in makeup because I was in makeup. I was a science officer and I think I had pointy ears and shit and I no eyebrows.
Did you ever exchange words with Seth?
No, Seth was dude. When you're on set, you generally don't talk to the key actors. Although, I was right next to God, I can't think of Jon Favreau because he was the creator on season 1, and so
you stood next to Jon Favreau.
Yeah, who's actually much shorter than I thought.
Oh my
God! Yeah, he was in charge of the set. It was really cool. But you could see him kind of just leading everything, and him and MacFarlane kind of sat, and you could see that those are the two guys in charge.
That's
it was
crazy.
Really cool.
That's awesome.
The coolest story I have of that is that did you ever watch a show called 24?
Oh, Rachel and I started that like last year. We watched a couple episodes. It didn't hook me, man. It really didn't.
Dude, I loved it. And the first season wasn't very good. Seasons 2, 3, and 4 were so good, and that people in the news were saying that they shouldn't write about this stuff and make it because it could give terrorist groups ideas on how to attack the United States.
Shit.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was a real deal. So anyway, long story short,
Surprised
the president's wife, the president's wife, who was in 24, I actually had a conversation with her, and I don't remember her name now, but in the show, her name was Teresa Palmer, and she was the nicest woman ever. She was like 4'2", but she was so nice. And I told her I was such a fan of 24, and she said that was and she was a main character for like 1 or 2 seasons. But yeah, it was really cool. So the Orville set was pretty neat. The Orville set was pretty cool. So it was interesting to see how it got picked up. But no, that sci-fi comedy is that's a tough ask. I mean, I can't think of any other sci-fi comedy, series outside of the Orville offhand. Can you?
I always found American Horror Story kind of comical at some points.
That's definitely not sci-fi. That's much more horror. Definitely. That's straight horror.
I know David Harris was a big fan of American Horror. I watched a couple of seasons. I really liked the one that's in the woods. I can't remember what it's called.
Roanoke.
Roanoke. I liked that season. The first season still was always my favorite one. Around Halloween, I used to try and watch like horror movies every day. Yeah. So Rachel's a huge horror movie buff. Like, I'm surprised that you guys haven't collaborated on anything recently.
Dude, I might. It's funny. Rachel, I know you're listening. Maybe you can jump on my podcast. We can talk about some of your horror stuff. It's nice. It'd be great to have another female voice when it comes to that type of stuff. So I'd love to have her on.
She loves horror movies, dude. Like, if she has her choice and she's going to watch something, it's either Friends, Gilmore Girls, or a horror movie that she hasn't seen.
Yeah. That's awesome. Dude, speaking of Friends, Jennifer Aniston dated the lead of The Leftovers for like a week. Justin Theroux. But what got her attention was The Leftovers. It was that good. It was resonating with everybody. And because of that he ended up dating her for like a week or something like that. Maybe they got engaged. I don't remember. But anyway, so that nice little segue to my number one pick. But dude, do you watch any horror? Like horror, I mean, outside of sci-fi, horror series are exceptionally rare. I mean, Penny Dreadful could be considered a horror.
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is a horror movie.
An American Horror Story too, for that matter. Yeah. Did you ever see Hannibal?
The show, yeah, I love that one.
Bro,
I love that one.
Dude, that's probably one of my favorite shows of all time. Hannibal is fantastic, and yeah, I'm glad you said that because people will hate on it because people are so used to Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal Lecter, and so but Mads Mikkelsen, who's really his star has kind of really risen since then. He is an incredible Hannibal Lecter. Like in my mind, he might be the Hannibal Lecter of this generation. So, but I don't want to get too far off track because I know that
No, don't, dude. We can talk about anything we want. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's our show.
That's it. That's true. We're not getting the red light.
Speaking of horror, like, dude, I'm a huge, like, my favorite horror movie is Saw. And Saw, Andrew makes a good point, is coming out. There's a new movie of Saw coming out. It's got Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock in it.
Yeah. Did you see the trailer for it?
I did. I watched it last year when it was supposed to come out in 2021. Not 2021, 2020, but it got pushed back to this year. I was a big fan of it because of the fact that it was people like us. It was not a production-made movie. It was an independent film. It was an independent film made by James Wan, who went off to do Aquaman and The Fast and the Furious, and even he loves horror. He does The Conjuring. The Conjuring movies are his babies. And he did Saw. Like, the coolest thing, I watched his podcast and watched his interviews. The car scenes are exactly how I used to film my car scenes. It was people in a car with lights, and people would run past them with lights to make it feel like traffic was going past. They were literally in his garage, in his van, his own van, and he had I can't remember the actor's name, the black guy that did Lethal Weapon, in the car.
Danny Glover.
Yeah,
Danny Glover.
that's how they did it. It was a small independent film. The character that was in the bathtub, the actor, was also co-creator of the movie with him.
Yeah, that's right. James Winnell. James Winnell was it. Or no, Lee Winnell. Lee Winnell, because he went on to direct. I actually saw him speak here. He directed The Invisible Man, the remake, which was really good.
I really like that one. I like that one a lot too.
I think that was pretty cool. It's funny you bring that up. And don't underplay it. Nate's got a feature that he used this technique. I know you won't talk about it, but I will. Fractured. You used that technique where one of our good buddies, Bo, was driving, and that totally worked. I'm like, how did you film this? And you're like, oh yeah, well we used flashlights on the rear view mirrors and the side mirrors. I'm like, oh shit. And here I am, and we're 2 movies in, and that was a really cool trick. I'm don't be afraid to bring it up. You guys did a great job with Fractured.
Fractured was tough. I loved it. I loved. It was definitely a love child of mine, wanting to do a film, because my friend Jeremy and I came up with the story when we were roommates. We talked about making a movie about a serial killer that his roommate didn't know about him being a serial killer originally, and that's how it started. And then I just started writing it with me and Rachel, and a bunch of friends jumped on board, and I miss making movies, man. This whole pandemic's been horrible.
Yeah.
I want to make more. I want to act more. It's been a while. And I'm watching Game of Thrones again because my father-in-law challenged me to watch Game of Thrones if he watched Person of Interest. And it's hard for me to watch Game of Thrones again. But it's the 10-year anniversary this month of it coming back.
Iron anniversary, right?
Yeah. So we're on season 2, I think, now. But it's so hard. I love the first 5 seasons. The last season's going to be tough to watch again.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll have to talk about that in length later. I couldn't agree more. I got into it way late. Jessica turned me on to it, and I think it was right at where Egret was coming into the series, which might have been season 2 now I think about it. I'm not sure.
Season 2. Yeah.
Was it season 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, man, it was Game of Thrones, and I know
Rachel's answering you in chat. She's talking about all the horror.
I know. I know. I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to respond to her, too. I got to ask her a question. But no, Game of Thrones really changed pop culture. There was the before and after Game of Thrones. There absolutely is.
Same thing about Breaking Bad too. Those shows.
Well, I was going to ask you. Would if we had done maybe our top 2, would that have been in your top 2 for conspiracy drama?
For Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad?
Breaking Bad.
Yes, because I'm a big fan of Breaking Bad. I really like it, and that's one of the actor Aaron Paul is one of the reasons why I want to pick Westworld up again, because I think he's in season 3, if I'm not mistaken, of Westworld. But I love Breaking Bad. I thought it was great. I have a lot of friends that are actually in that show. I know a couple people.
What?
The twins, the assassin twins, were in it. My buddy Rogelio out in LA, he was actually in Better Call Saul.
I love Better Call Saul.
And he's possibly, hopefully I'm not spoiling it, he possibly might be a series regular or more of a cameo in the next season of Better Call Saul. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, the actor's really, he hung out with Giancarlo, and Giancarlo's like, you need to be in the show. We need to get you in here. I want you to be part of my team. I'm like, that's amazing, dude, to have that actor tell you that. I love that actor. That actor's had the biggest blow up from that show. He's been in The Mandalorian. He's been in The Boys, which is one of my favorite superhero shows now. And there's a whole new superhero shows that are coming out now this year from after Avengers, because it's got like this whole envelope now of people that are wanting to make those shows besides out of comics, besides DC and Marvel. So The Boys is also a comic book story, but it's still one of my favorite shows.
Right, and I think one of your Wes Winchester brothers is going to be in the new season, Soldier Boy, right? I think the one who plays Dean, not
Jensen
Padalecki,
Ackles.
the other one.
Jensen Ackles. I'm so excited for that. It's
Yeah,
definitely people are going to be surprised because he's an asshole. He's almost like a.
I know.
He's almost
an
like
anti
a Homelander.
Captain America, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but he's the anti. Yeah.
I'm excited to see that.
Dude, The Boys is such a good job with that. I'd love to talk to you about The Boys because what they do in there, it's they do a great job with that. Homelander, to me, when I was watching it for, what was it, season 2 this past go around, he reminded me a lot of Heath Ledger's Joker. Like every time he was on camera, I got uncomfortable. Like he's gonna fucking kill somebody. Like, you know what I mean? He's gonna kill somebody, and so it's such a good show. I enjoy The Boys so much, and they touch on subjects in there that people might not. It's satire too. So you can get away with saying something without overtly saying it. So I think that's great. I think they do such a good job with The Boys. And we should add that to our list. That's going on the list.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, ReelChat, this has been a lot of fun. We talked about our top 3 tiered shows from those topics. If you guys have any other topics, maybe we'll jump into horror. Maybe we'll talk about horror, TV, and movies and stuff like that. We'll talk about our favorites from those as well, too. Maybe that'll be one of our next shows. Chris, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, dude, but you know what? I'll tell you what. If you send me maybe your top 5 episodes of Supernatural, I will watch them, but I'm not going to watch 15 episodes. But I would like to see it because I heard people talk glowingly about the show.
I'm on it. I'm on it. You're going to have it today.
If you send it to me today, I'll watch it this week. But no, I would definitely say if people haven't seen Westworld, it's a fun show to watch. And you're right, your boy Pinkman is in there. He's in season 3, and really his arc. I actually don't necessarily love his character. I mean, I don't. But I'm sorry, I don't like him as an actor, and that's something against him. He just doesn't do it for me. But in the show, he's fantastic, and him and Evan Rachel Wood's chemistry is really good. And it's not like a romantic chemistry. It's like a partnership chemistry, which I think is lacking in a lot of series. You have, there's our male lead and our female lead, and inevitably they must fall in love. That's not necessarily true. In fact, I find that if you can stay away from that, it makes more for an engaging story because it's not so tropic. We haven't seen that as often. But that's another story. Let me ask you. So okay, real quick before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
If you had to add one to any one of the 3 tiers that we have, and it's got to be only one, what would it be? Like, what would be your if you have 1, 2, and 3? What would be your 3A or 3B to this list?
Of those topics we're talking about right now.
And only one, and I don't mean like one more sci-fi, one more, but only one more of those 3 that we talked about. Just one.
Oh, that's easy. It was gonna be my runner-up was Firefly for sci-fi.
Oh yeah, people love that.
Yeah.
Nathan Fillion, I think that's his name.
It was genre breaking. It was very different. It wasn't just there's aliens. No, it's talking about like how man is its own worst enemy, and about how bad people wanting everything to be perfect can make the world.
Well, and it's funny because people enjoyed that show so much they made Serenity from it, right? The film.
Yep. It definitely did. The fans brought that back, just like we did for Justice League, Zack Snyder. The Brown Coats united, and we got the movie from Joss Whedon, who's actually making a new show right now. I'm actually watched the first episode called The Nevers, which I was surprised. But
on HBO, right?
Yeah, we watched the first episode. I think the next one came out today.
I heard good things about it. I heard that people are saying really good things about it. Actually,
the vote's still out on it. I don't know. I'm not hooked quite yet.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not
Dude,
hooked.
but the first episode's always hard of anything, right? Like but that's what Breaking Bad did so well. Like in the first episode, you have Walter White talking to the camera, saying goodbye in his underwear. It's a ridiculous. Like if you look at the lensing of it, it looks ridiculous, but the gravity of what he's saying is so serious, and so you take it with that grain of salt, and so it's absolutely, it did that so well.
It's actually my grandma's favorite show.
Oh, really?
I got her to watch it. She was like, "Oh, it's my favorite show." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. That's cool, man. That's cool.
She's also a big fan of The Walking Dead, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I think most people.
Which coincidentally, most people don't know about this is that Walking Dead and Breaking Bad are actually intertwined. Walking Dead's supposed to be the future from Breaking Bad.
Kinda. I mean, you could. They've made the argument with Daryl's character being Pinkman being his brother's meth dealer and whatnot. I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Have they come out and said that?
They actually said it was true.
No, really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too myself, but yeah. So okay, here's the deal. I will give you your 5 Supernatural episodes to watch, but
cool.
You have to watch the first season of Person of Interest first, and I will watch the first season of The Leftovers.
Okay, that's fair. Although the first season of Leftovers isn't the best season, but you know what?
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it, and I definitely will talk about Person of Interest and Leftovers next. Maybe that will be our top favorite 2 shows that we talk about.
Maybe
topics and stuff. But guys, check out this episode on YouTube if you haven't yet already. It's gonna be a full episode on there as well. And next week we are gonna be talking about video games, how they've been transitioning over to movies and TV, which is the best for them, and next week's Mortal Kombat movie, which I'm excited about.
Dude, everybody's talking about the way it was filmed and the loyalty that they provided to the game transition. You know, so it's a great segue to both of our topics next week. And we should say we're working on branding. We're working on getting out to different platforms on the SoundCloud. So ReelChat.
Oh, that was gonna be a surprise.
Well, surprise today. Today is the surprise, right? Today is a surprise that we're dropping that news. But
SoundCloud, hopefully soon. Chris,
yes.
This has been fun. I'm so excited to start watching The Leftovers. Thank you so much for that recommendation. Chat, thank you so much for your recommendations as well, too. We are putting down horror as one of our topics we'll be talking about, too. Thank you so much for that. I think that's going to be great. And I think Rachel should be joining us as our guest as well that time to talk about that.
I would love that. You know, I think that'd be great. I would love to get a female perspective on horror. I can see if I can get Jessica, too. I mean, I think it's the females that enjoy horror. I love getting into that because they see things so differently than we as males see things.
Yeah, because seeing as how I don't watch any of the stuff that she watches, like, watch this. I'm like, oh, God, no, I don't want to watch it. No, it's horrible. She's like, no, it's fun. I'm like, that's not fun. That doesn't look fun. But no, it's going to be fun. Dude, this was a lot of fun today. Thanks for the show list.
Yeah, awesome. Great show, guys. Thank you so much, Chad, for kicking in. Looks like our chat blew up today, so that'll be interesting to go back to and look at. But yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Send me your top 5 because I got time this week.
I will. Watch it. You got time for Person of Interest first, my friend.
Okay, I do.
Thank you very much, guys. It's NAT3MILL signing off, and
Chris Carter.
ReelChat. Check us out on YouTube and Instagram, and always on Sundays at 6 p.m. here on Twitch. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Have a good night.